Calaroga Shark Media.
Hi there, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. Today's guest is comedian Drew Lynch. You may know Drew from America's Got Talent, or you may know him as the stuttering comedian from America's Got Talent. He's got a really interesting origin story. He explains, I was playing softball and a hard-hit ball took a bad hop and struck me in the throat. I fell and smacked my head on the ground. That led to my career as a stand-up. Yeah, apparently he had a traumatic brain injury from it, which created a neurogenic stutter. Kind of messed up his career. He was up for some roles. His agent dropped him. He explains, I got the cold shoulder and I realized that I wanted control. I rehabbed, and that's when I discovered stand-up. 3 years after the injury, he appeared on America's Got Talent. He said that validated him as a comic. It was an amazing experience, and I can't tell you how great it was to get such great feedback from Howie Mandel, who I have so much respect for. Drew will be part of Just for Laughs Vancouver, the big comedy festival up there in Vancouver. He'll be at the Vogue Theater on the 19th. The festival continues through the 22nd. Now, as I prepped for my interview, if you listen to every interview with him, if you read every article about him, it talks about his origin story, and I chose not to go there. And being candid, I think I may have thrown him by not asking him about it. And a couple other notes on what you're going to hear today. What's crazy to me is in the recording session, he was on what I call an open mic. Like, he wasn't holding a microphone, and I was. However, I was on someone else's recording session, not my recording session. And as I got the audio back, it sounds like my microphone didn't pick up, and it may have been using my laptop microphone. So, like, as you hear me now, I have some processing on my voice. That's what you hear on a normal episode. Sometimes you'll hear an episode where I do an interview or the conversations with Mike Chisholm on the Letterman podcast, which is using his setup. You don't hear all my processing and whatnot. But as I listen back to this, I'm like, Drew sounds really good, and I sound like I'm on a laptop, which is just funny to me because I had my microphone out. Neither here nor there. Also, I want to be transparent. I resequenced this interview. This first part I'm going to play is from later in the interview, but I wanted to lead with this part because it's so good. Listen to Drew Lynch channel Marc Maron here. He channels Marc Maron. He's not doing an impression, but he channels his inner Marc Maron. It is fantastic. Here's Drew Lynch.
You spent some time on the Maron sitcom. I feel like weird using the word sitcom with Maron. Show, the television show. How is Marc? Is Marc what we think Marc is in real life?
Marc is exactly the way Marc is in real life. And you should be comforted by that fact. He is, and I've told him this. He's just a grouchy guy. He's not grouch, but he's a hard guy. You know, he's just like, I feel that way. Oh yeah, okay. Well, that's weird. Or he's like, he's kind of like he likes to kind of scrutinize and just kind of get in it. And I love that about him because that's where his comedy is. He's begrudging all the time, and that's hilarious. Like, it's just like that's my uncle who lives in my attic. That's who he is. He's like, I guess he's coming down for a soda, but he's upset because the handle on the fridge is broken, and he doesn't want to try to put his nails into the side and open it that way. And Marc's going to talk a lot about that. It's frustrating. Why is the bottom of the fridge? Why is there heat coming from the bottom of the fridge, but the inside of it is cold? And these things used to be an icebox. Should I just get an icebox? Like, I'm talking in the voice of Maron right now. That's how well I know. Yeah, it's how well I know how he goes. And he's like, and then he goes in for a soda, and then he pulls out something, and he finds a protein bar in the drawer, and he's like, what is it with these protein bars? There's so much sugar. I'm not even getting, what is this? Because you mashed up a date and you put some Joe Rogan pills in a thing that I need to, like, this is the way Marc is. I could just watch him. He's like an angry cat. You're just like, okay, just keep going, I guess, bud.
That was amazing. I was just trying to hang back and not step on you. Boy, you channel him really well.
Well, I think it's just because at my heart, I'm probably just as much of a grouch. I have a softer face, or all American good looks if you read the Review Journal in Las Vegas from 20 years ago. But yeah, Maron is. We all have a Maron inside of us.
I saw you did an AGT showcase. Are you just part of the AGT extended family? Is there a pay it forward aspect to that?
There definitely is. I mean, that show is very rewarding, and they're also very demanding. And I mean that in a professional way. They just expect a lot because they give a lot. So, take that for what it is. And I don't mind being a part of the family or the alumni or whatever. And I'm all for advocating for other people to find their opportunities on that show. Like I was doing I was at the showcase, and like they want to kind of like say like, oh, and we got these people here who did the show, these alums, they're look at where they are. There's a comic that was on the show just showcasing. His name's Lachlan Patterson. You probably know him. He's a Canadian comic, and he has been doing it for almost 30 years. And he is, in every sense of the word, like just a pro. And he is so good, and he's so funny. And it's like he's no one's above anyone. But just this idea that they're gonna be like, and look at this guy who we found. And it's like, yeah, he's been doing it for longer than television. Like, what are we talking about? He's so funny. And so, like, I don't know. It's just so interesting. It's just, the world is just the world of our world, stand up, and navigating whatever your path is all so different. And you just never know. You look at like the Louis of the world, or even the Bills, where like, it's like these guys were 28, 29 years, 30 or 25 years in. And then Showtime was like, okay. And they're like, and then what? It's like, what? All right. And then like maybe the best comedians ever. Okay. So I don't know. Maybe it's supposed to be more of that. And it's definitely less of that because people have TikToks and they have thumbs, and then they get to decide what, I guess maybe what happens quickly is what happens, is where there's tremendous value. And for me, as someone who's a student of what it is that we do and has such appreciation in seeing it done well, dude, comics who can write down and just write for 8 minutes and 10 minutes and 12-minute bits on one thing, it's just my favorite. And I hope that that's not going anywhere, because that's a part of the art form that I really fell in love with.
Yeah, it's changed. Pre-pandemic, there were all these people that, oh, so-and-so came out of nowhere. But like you said, they'd been doing it for 15 years. They just finally got the light shown on them. In the age of social media, maybe some people have accelerated in a way that you just couldn't do in 1985. I know, as just a guy sitting on the couch, I just look at it as I hit play on something on Netflix, and did I laugh? That's my entire barometer. And if you're good at social media, or people think you're handsome, or whatever we want to knock a comedian for because they didn't do it the right way, you didn't do 10 years at the Cellar, did you laugh? And I think that's the good civilian test.
Right. And that's part of why it's so, it's so accessible now. In today's climate, you can be much more in control of what gets distributed and how people maybe find you. So it is, in that way, it's great. But in another way, we're not dealing with gatekeepers, but those gatekeepers were there for a reason, to hopefully kind of vet maybe quality. And you maybe have to sift a little bit to find whatever it is your interpretation or what it is you value as quality.
Growing up in Indianapolis, you're a Colts fan. You guys had quite the season.
Come on, John. Right. We're having such a good time. Why does it have to be this?
You had a good season.
We did, and then we had the rest of the season. And it was good until the midpoint of the season.
You're heading to Vancouver for Just for Laughs. You'll be at the Vogue Theater on the 19th. Have you been to Vancouver before?
Oh yeah, many times. I love it.
Great place. Do you find at festivals that it's your fans, or is it, sometimes I find at festivals, it's just whoever happens to be playing when we want to go out on a night and we'll go see whoever? Is it your crowd going to see you, or is it just festival fans, comedy fans?
I think it's a healthy balance of both, and I think it's artist specific for sure. But the festival, what I think they do a good job of is people do just are like, yeah, they do just commit to just going out, and that's kind of cool because you're just going in blind and they're like, yeah, I don't know, we'll check it out. So I think it's a healthy mix.
As you got your comedy career started, America's Got Talent, how was it pulling out? How long were those segments? I feel like you're doing like 2-minute chunks.
Sometimes even less. I think I did 90 seconds my first audition, and Then like the second round was like 2 minutes, and then like the next round was like a minute 45 or two. It's not much, and it's weird because comics are also almost given like less time. Like a song is like, a song is like 2.5 minutes, or sometimes a magician thing will be 8 minutes, like a whole thing, like they get all this time to kind of like set up. And I know that sounds like I've got ill will towards magic. I don't. I just mean like they need a much longer, like they need more time to be able to have something kind of unravel and set it up. And it's a different pace. So I don't know. My struggle was that I was already on a time budget and I stuttered. So it's like, how do I get out jokes per minute when I get barely a minute, So that was definitely a challenge trying to navigate that.
It's got to be hard because you can't really do storytelling. You have no time to set up a callback. You just kind of have to come out and rat-a-tat-tat.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why I think comics who have like one-liners, Tom Cotter, Taylor Williamson, even my buddy Preacher, like he's got great jokes too. He fills in the space with big energy too, and so it's like everybody's kind of got their own approach, but it does feel like comics who are very one-linery. Erica Rhodes, she did the show, and she's really, really great at that as well. Strong writer.
All right, let me get the break in here. You've seen my heating bill, right? Oh my goodness. Johnny Mac, I hate the commercials. I get it. If you want them to go away, become a premium subscriber on Apple Podcasts, $5 a month, and live with that. We got to pay the heating bills. So we'll take the break. And when I come back, I'll ask Drew Lynch about coming off America's Got Talent and getting respect from his peers. Drew Lynch is my guest. He'll be at JFL Vancouver at the Vogue Theater on the 19th.
As you got deeper into it, I see that you are well respected in the comedy community. I can tell by which podcast we'll have you on as a guest, and you're part of the mix. Did you run into in the early days any pushback from the comedy snobs of, he's from the TV show, or did anyone accuse you of the stutter being a gimmick? Were you accused of being a gimmick comic?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I got that a lot. And I'm sure I still do. I think it's my big projection onto the situation also didn't help. Like me, like feeling like, I don't deserve to be here, because my path was different. And I came from a family friendly show. And then I went through a period of time where, based on the influence of maybe what other comics said, or maybe what I thought other comics were saying, was that I felt like I had to be edgy, or I had to swear, or I had to go through a period where I was here to prove something. And that's just not, that's just not really authentic to who I actually am. So I kind of got away from a lot of that. And it does hurt when people are saying like, oh, well, he only got this because of this, because I worked very hard. Like if anything, I probably work harder than I am like to have skill or talent. I'm someone who, I've always had a drive, and I think you kind of need that in order to keep up with the frequency of what the demand of comedy and content is, especially in the current climate. And I've always done things to try to protect myself when it comes to, my own fragile, I guess, like ego or perception. But comedy is like being willing to get rejected and reevaluate and reassess and go back in and do the work and look at the weakness and expose it over and over and over, and it never ends. So this healthy balance of not taking it personally and trying to navigate who you are, your own authenticity, and not leaving your center in the process has been something that it's taught me.
Was there a point in your career where you said, okay, I've made it now, this is working?
I don't know that any of us ever feel that way. And you shouldn't feel fear, but you definitely should never feel fully stable. And that's like, that margin is so thin. You can't even, if it was Google Maps, you'd have to do this so many times to try to find that tributary on the freaking, on the dividing line of one place to the next, because some comics feel like, I meet people who they couldn't be less happy with everything that they have. And I've met other comics where everything is all gravy. Like, this is incredible. I just get to be here doing this. This is insane. And the energy that comes from each of those is something that I think is maybe to be learned, you can learn from both. So I don't know. I don't know that the answer is ever yes, because it's an ever moving, breathing thing.
As you're traveling the country, you're not a political comedian. Do you feel you need to avoid it? Do you feel you need to on any particular day? There was a weekend a couple of weeks ago, and I'm not going to get into that, but there were topics in the news where a lot of people were very passionate about it. Do you feel you need to address any of these things, or is it more of that's not why we're here?
I used to feel like I can write a joke about it, so I might as well. And I sometimes feel like that does more harm than good, because people are so sensitive right now. And there's some comics who are like, well, but for the sake of comedy and for the purposes of comedy, we should be able to say this, and it is this, and people should be able to. And you know what? I agree. We should. In the name of what the art form is, yeah, we should. But these are kind of unprecedented times, and they're certainly trying times. And if I can try to have some grace for the situation, or maybe for the fact that people feel very personal or very close to some of these things for reasons that I don't understand. I try to understand that there are things that I don't understand. And that is very difficult to account for something that you can't see, or that's something that you don't know, or that isn't tangible to you. So as it applies to trying to navigate a very hostile and volatile and maybe toxic sort of political, social environment, I have always found it to be better if I can just make myself the target and try to have people try to maybe forget their lives or forget the pressures of whatever that climate feels like. And that's hard, because there are some comics who are like, well, it's our job. And there are even people who are like, who say like, we have a bigger responsibility as comics to get involved and stuff. And maybe, but I'm just trying to do and maybe Bill Maher and maybe Jon Stewart or Trevor, or like there's there are a lot of people who I think can do it really, really well. And I feel like I can write that really well, but does it make me feel uncomfortable knowing that I'm making people uncomfortable? Yeah. And maybe that's because I don't know. I have maybe a little too much compassion, or I'm sensitive, or I'm weak, or whatever.
Next week, Chappelle's heading to Minnesota, and I can't wait to hear what he says. But conversely, Jay Leno is very adamant about, I don't do politics in my act. So if I go see Jay Leno, I understand what I'm going to see. So I think it's a tough road, but I think he explained that really well.
Like Nate, I think does a great job. Sebastian, I think does a great job.
But like if I go see Maron, I would expect Marc to talk about the elephant in the room, but that's what he does.
Yeah, absolutely. He leans into that. I mean, he pursues it.
I'll let you go before I get the light. But I just wanted to ask you, in spirit of paying it forward, as you travel the country, who's a comedian out there that we should know that maybe is off our radar? Who are you into that you're saying?
Oh, well, Lachlan's a great example. Lachlan Patterson, he'll probably be on this season of America's Got Talent. I hope he goes so far, because he's so freaking funny, and he's got just endless amounts of material. There's another guy named Orion Levine. He's so funny. Emma Willman, she's kind of getting her flowers now. She's super funny. I'm trying to think, like, who else is just like, Steve Fury. He's a guy who makes me laugh. Jason Cheney. Yeah, like these guys are all just like so fresh. Ahmed Barucha. I could go like endlessly. Annie Lederman. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like these I advocate for so many of my friends. They're all so funny. I hope they all succeed. Nate Bargatze, if you don't know who that is, he's kind of coming up the ladder right now.
He's doing okay for himself. He's the Grand Marshal at Daytona.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Drew Lynch, he'll be at the Vogue Theater at JFL Vancouver on the 19th. Thank you for your time today. This was awesome.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
And that's Drew Lynch. Catch him at JFL Vancouver. He'll be at the Vogue Theater on the 19th. The JFL Vancouver Comedy Festival continues through the 22nd, and I'll see you back here tomorrow.